Hi, welcome to another edition of OnsideSA, where Budge and I are going to take you through things that are happening. Obviously, last one standing is right down to the final two in the women's department, and the winner, the men's department, well, it ends up being men, and of course our new one's going to be starting soon. We will be speaking to Stevie B, our pundit in London, and of course we'll be talking about the African Cup of Nations. Budge, everything coming to boil with regard to the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, Paul, good game last night.
Yeah,
Burkina Faso really made it, Paul.
Yeah.
Some teams they had a go.
They tossed the last one.
Yeah.
They gave them a goal.
Yeah, go, unfortunate, yeah.
Let's get on to the last one standing. It's week 9, and two guys went through again.
Yeah.
Mo Maul, he's doing well. He's been consistent. And, of course, the king of the north in Joburg, Lawrence, Dolph Lundgren, Werners.
Yeah.
So it's between a very good effort by both of them.
Yeah.
And the ladies' competition is down to 2 left.
Yeah,
They've been the leading lights for a couple of times now. Catherine Armstrong and Michelle Tovey. So it looks good. I think it's a wonderful idea having the ladies' competition. I'm going to get
Gary
Mark
Green, our man, Decoy Doug,
Decoy Doug's a legend. Yeah, that's very, very good. Eh? Now, quickly, we're going to talk about when do these people have their next...
Paul, the next selection is June midweek. 8th, 9th and 10th. This game's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And the next competition starts that next Saturday, the 12th.
So we can start pushing it. We'll start getting it out there.
Everybody will know,
Get out there, try and win it. It's a
well, it looks like
prize.
it's a final competition of the season. I know there's been some bad results, but looks like the final one.
Okay, excellent. So, right, quickly touch on AFCON before we go over to Stevie B in the studio. Budge, tell me about the game yesterday. We just touched on it briefly.
Yeah.
Tough game.
Tough game, Paul. Yeah, just going through their Senegal team, they've got players that play for PSG.
Yes.
Yeah, years gone by, Paul, that never happened. Liverpool. You know, Koyata, I think, is at Crystal Palace now. Koulibaly's one of the best centre-halves in Europe. 70, 80 million they want for him. And Mendes is good. I think he was European goalkeeper of the season. Yeah. So everything's in Senegal's favour. I said last week, the only way they're going to get beat is going to be on penalties.
Okay.
And but a big game tonight, Cameroon, Egypt.
And Egypt. Two good sides.
Good sides.
Any prediction?
Paul, of the two, I like Cameroon, but you know when Salah's in the game,
he's a good player.
He's top notch, Paul. So it could go either way.
The Sunday final, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I've been on Senegal since the beginning, Paul. So
well done. They've got a very good team, eh?
Yeah, a good team, Paul. Well organised.
Okay, let's get on to Stevie B, a man you can't boot, shoot, or electrocute. Steve, are you about?
I'm here. Good morning.
Morning, Steve. How's the weather in London? I always ask you that.
It's not actually that cold. So,
okay. So it's turning.
I mean, not obviously. So it's going to be about plus 10 today, which is it's quite balmy for early February.
Balmy army.
Yeah.
Stevie, a couple of questions we're going to pose to you are going to be difficult ones today, obviously on issues that are still, the police are involved and changes coming along. But I think let's discuss the elephant in the room. Budgie's a United supporter. The youngster's done himself no good. What's the latest coming out of the papers there without incriminating anybody?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, the police have bailed him. So he's been, after 3 days being held, he's been bailed. But, you know, it's not looking that good. And you know, what's happened is that, I mean, United effectively, they suspended him almost immediately. His main sponsor, Nike, have suspended their contract. I saw yesterday, last night, Southgate came out and basically said that Mason Greenwood won't be featuring in any England squad anytime soon, and it's just not looking very good for him. And it's just, it's sad that here's another case of someone so young having so much too soon.
Yeah. Is the evidence? Sorry, Stevie. Is the evidence damning?
Yeah.
I was away in Cape Town. So
well, it seems to be evidently this young woman who was involved put up messages and maybe photos as well. That were taken down, but basically alluded to the fact that he threatened her and beat her, and obviously in this day and age, that is something that can't be condoned. United came out immediately and have since reiterated and said they don't condone violence of any sort. They've obviously, and I even heard last night that any fan that bought a Greenwood shirt from the club shop could either get their money back or have it swapped. So they seem to be distancing themselves from him. The only thing I did hear is obviously he's been suspended, but he's been suspended on full pay. So it's not good for his career. I mean, unfortunately, there have been a few issues surrounding him in the last year and a half or so. Obviously, we know that he was sent home early by England after sort of misbehaving during the lockdown last year, he was accused of holding parties. He hired a flat and was inviting friends around to party during lockdown. So he's obviously got a bit of a wild side to him. And if you think some years ago, going back to the Fergie era, there was a story when Lee Sharp, who was obviously very gifted and talented but had a bit of a wild side, had a party, and Ryan Giggs was there when he was about 17. And Ferguson went round to the house, gave Lee Sharp a real telling off, and dragged Ryan Giggs out. There isn't, who is there now at United who would do that, to get sort of Greenwood back on the right side. And, I'm afraid it's obviously sort of lacking some sort of, I'll say moral guidance by the sounds of it. So, but it's a shame, such a wonderful talent. But it sounds like his career is hanging by the balance.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is there's no managers today. The agents make all the decisions.
Yeah, it's very
and
true.
agents are only interested in themselves and money. So the poor guy,
Runs
but there's no excuse for what he's done or allegedly done. So if he's in trouble.
I think
you can't condone it. Sorry, Steve, you
throughout
can't
his
condone
career,
it. All right.
He's obviously had a stellar career. And he's obviously feels he can do what he wants, and he probably has enough people stand up to him and say, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And this is obviously gone too
Well,
far. Hopefully...
Steve, it's a lesson for those other young footballers who like to party a bit, the Fodens.
Absolutely.
And all of them. It's a wake-up call. But
he's been very privileged.
Let's move on, Steve, to better news, if I can call it that. Everton appoint Frank.
Yeah, I think that of those that the initial favourite was Pereira, and the fans made it very clear they weren't happy. Relatively unknown, certainly unknown to the Premier League. Whereas Frank Lampard is known. I mean, he did well at Derby, went to Chelsea, and irrespective of how it ended, he did well considering they were under a transfer embargo. So he's obviously going to have got the respect of his peers and players, and managed to recruit. Almost immediately we've got Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli going there, which should strengthen their midfield, of course. So I think it's a good move for Everton, and he needed to get back in the saddle. So I think it's probably a good move overall.
Yeah, I totally agree. Steve, as far as the transfers go, I think Everton obviously big winners. Newcastle as well. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think they were trying to get Jesse Lingard very, very hard, but United were playing hardball on what they wanted for him. But ultimately, they brought in 5 players. The team will be strengthened. It's not as if they're sort of adrift at the bottom. They're only, they're there or thereabouts. And I think if the new players bedding quickly, and again they've been quite sensible. Apart from Bruno Guimaraes, the rest are all experienced Premiership players, and I think that's whether or not they're the sort of players that are going to be playing for them in the next year or two once they really strengthen. But Matt Targett, Dan Burn, they've been playing well for their clubs. And I think that, they've obviously, Eddie Howe's decided he just needed to strengthen the squad with players who can hit the ground running, and I think that's what they've done.
Yeah, I agree. I just think they sorted out the back. That was the biggest problem. They couldn't keep clean sheets. Signing 3 or 4 of the back players, I think, has done a good job. And the other team, and I'm going to ask Paul on this, I think Spurs had a good transfer window.
So do I. I think people, I get the daily reports, 3 or 4 reports a day on Spurs, and they were incensed because the Conte was quietly incensed with how Traore handled himself, used them.
Yeah.
We offered 22.5, was all seemed to be done. He used it as a trampoline to get into Barcelona or back to Barcelona. And that didn't. And then we lost one to Liverpool. And so it looked bleak for a time, Steve. And then suddenly he said, well, Juventus, Patrick, whatever his name, Paratrice or something.
Bentancur and Kulusevski.
I mean, look, Paratici obviously knows them well.
Yes.
But I think the other thing is what Conte was obviously very keen to do was to have a bit of a clear out of players that he didn't feel were good enough, which they did. And on the last day managed to ship up, players who he didn't feel he wanted in his squad.
Yeah.
And I guess you could look and say they brought 2 in and 4 went,
Yes.
but maybe he feels he's got sort of a better balance and a happier ship, because if he's got players who he doesn't fancy, and you don't know whether they were disrupted behind the scenes.
A couple of them were lucky not to get moved or loaned out. Well, Ali was sold, and then Lo Celso and Dombele was loaned out, and a couple of the kids were moved on loan. But for me, the likes of the right back, they're struggling there. They've got 2. They've got a backup now for it. But they're even putting, say, why don't you pay...
the Brazilian right wing back.
Yeah, Brazilian right wing back, because Doherty was lucky to survive.
Yeah.
For me, Davies is just lucky the format to suit him, because he's rubbish.
Yeah.
And the other one lucky to survive was that he came well was Bergwijn. He was under pressure and he came well.
Yeah.
Sessignon's under pressure. But as you say, I think in summer there'll be a major clear out. But there must be other teams.
I think you agree, Paul. I mean, there was no question. He wasn't going to clear out 7 or 8 and not have the ability to bring anybody in, because then the squad is too light. But I think he knows himself that he needs to. First of all, he's got to have the backing of Daniel Levy, because he does need a clear out, and I think you could see quite a few going and quite a few coming in. But it's going to be the quality of the ones that are coming in. It's going to make the difference between whether they are going to be really challenging on a regular basis in that top 4 arena or not.
There's a video going around, Steve. I don't know if you've seen it. I have seen it. I'll pass it on to you, of a clip on Dele Alli's 7 years at Spurs. The man was fantastic. Wow, he just lost it all. His goals, his touches, his flicks. He was just a great player. England,
I think the moment that Eriksen went missing, Eriksen created half of those goals for him.
Yeah, a lot of them. But the Crystal Palace goal lifted over. He's just, and I thought there were a few. It's a tape full of his goals. But anyway, let's move on.
Steve, we'll kick off with there's only one Premiership game this weekend, and it's a massive one.
Just before you go, what's the latest on Steve Bruce?
Looks like he's be at West Brom.
Steve Bruce is going to be appointed at West Brom, and I think that's a good move for both of them. I mean, he knows the Championship probably better than any other manager.
Yeah.
So, West Brom was still hanging on in a playoff place. I think the management obviously felt, as things were going, they're going to continue falling. I think Steve Bruce could shore things up, and I think they're too far adrift from an automatic playoff place. But Steve Bruce knows the Championship well. He's got, he hasn't got a bad squad of players. Maybe they were just being played out of position a little bit. So I think he'll turn things around a bit, and I think West Brom will finish in the playoffs, but probably no higher than top 4.
Yeah. Steve, that big game in the Premiership, massive game, especially at the bottom.
Yeah.
Burnley, Watford.
Huge.
How do you see it?
It's a huge game, and it's a game that neither team can afford to lose that, because then they could find themselves a little bit adrift. I mean, Burnley 1 win all season. Watford obviously only 4 wins, but more lots of defeats. I think the one thing that Roy Hodgson brings to a team, which I know from experience at Fulham and I remember at West Brom as well, he makes them hard to beat. And I imagine over the last week or so, he has been working tirelessly on getting his defensive lineup right. Burnley obviously lost Chris Wood, brought in a Dutch player to replace him. Nothing else has really changed. One or whoever wins that game, if there is to be a winner, gives them a fighting chance. I can see Watford holding Burnley. I can see Roy won't care about sending his team up there to play expansive football. He'll be quite happy to put 10 men behind the ball and to come away with a 0-0 draw. Because that's at this moment in time, Watford have shipped too many goals, and I think that that's the priority for them. But Burnley, Sean Dyche knows that this really is a huge game for them. They might have games in hand, but they've got a terrible run they've had, and they've got some tough games coming up. So I think that's going to be a really good game. It's a shame. I'm not sure if it's getting televised at all, but it's
always
obviously I'll watch the highlights.
We'll have it, no doubt. Steve, on to the FA Cup. Spoke about Frank Lampard. You see him getting off to a winning start?
Yeah, I think that he'll want to put out a strong team, and I think he'll want to make a statement. They didn't play that badly against Villa the last time out in the league. I think he will definitely want to pick his strongest available team, and I think that they probably will be too strong for Brentford. And I think that he'll want to get the fans on side, and no better way of doing it than winning at home and having a bit of a cup run.
Stevie went for the upset last round with Wigan Athletic. Can they cause another upset winning at Stoke City?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see many real upsets, unless teams play very weakened teams. I think that's one who I actually think, again, you'd like to think they'll play their strongest team than rest players thinking about the league. I know they're in a great position in the league, but this is a game I think that they could target and give them and have a cup run as well. So I think if they're, for me, this is one of those matches there where there could be an upset.
Okie dokie. Now, can your Fulham boys cause an upset of the round by winning at Man City?
Well, I think if they did, it certainly would be the upset of the season in the cup so far, really. But I can't see it. I mean, the last few times we played against City, we've come up short. It doesn't matter what team we put out. Pep take the FA Cup seriously, he'll put out a strong team. Yeah. I think as long as we're not humiliated, if we come away with a defeat by 1 or 2 with no injuries, and then we go again in the league on Tuesday night. Yeah. I think being optimistic and thinking we get anything other than a defeat, I think would be unrealistic.
Okie dokie. Now Tottenham Brighton's one of the major clashes in this round. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I think Tottenham. I think he'll want to make a statement as well. I mean, look, they went out with a bit of a whimper in the Bell Cup. I think Tottenham's, the FA Cup is a competition that they have had past glory, and I think that the fans will demand he puts out a strong team. And I think you would expect them to be just a little bit too strong for Brighton. But Brighton are a good side, and if Graham Potter puts out his strongest team, I think it could be one of the games of the round.
Yeah, no, I think we got at 10 o'clock our time, 8 o'clock your side, so I think it'll be a humdinger. And on Sunday, Notts Forest, who upset Arsenal in the last round, can they do the same to the cup holders, Leicester City?
Well, I think they've got half a chance, but I think that's also going to depend on the team that Brendan Rodgers puts out. If he puts out the strongest available team that he has, and obviously being cup holders, I think he'll want to have a competition. They're a little bit adrift in the league. I understand they've got 2 players coming back from injury. I think he'll put out a strong team, and I think probably will edge it. I think that just probably. I mean, Arsenal were very poor. I think Leicester will put out a team, and I think Leicester should just.
Well, Leicester for me too as well. Steve, are the 4 championship games? Birmingham against Sheffield United on Friday night. What's your call?
Yeah. I think Sheffield United are just on the fringes of being in a playoff position. I think this is the sort of game they'll target. Birmingham came back the other day. They were 2 down to Peterborough, who have probably got the worst record away from home in the Championship, to force a draw. But I think Sheffield United will look to go there and carry on their sort of they won the last week at Peterborough. I think they're going to want to go there and get another result.
Yeah, and Blackpool, who deserved a draw at Fulham last week, do you think they'll beat Bristol City?
I think they will do. Bristol City not having a particularly good run at the moment. Blackpool, after being completely overrun in the first 15 minutes, they dug in and in the end played, made it very hard for us. I think that they certainly are one of the surprise teams of the season. A lot of people thought they might go straight back down, but they're holding their own, and I think they might be just too strong for Bristol.
Yeah, okie dokie. Hull City versus my boys Preston.
Yeah, I think there'd be a close game. I mean, obviously you had good result last week. Came back yet again. You've got a point. Hull, obviously, with their new manager and new owners, making themselves hard to beat. So I think there's going to be. I think Hull will be favourites. I think if Preston got a point there, I think they'd be pleased with that.
Yeah, I know my boys missed a penalty in midweek. Otherwise, they'd have won at Millwall. Can't believe it. I saw it hit the post. That's a hard game. Hard game. But we've got to sneak to point. And last but not least,
hit the post.
Yeah, Swansea City versus Blackburn.
Yeah, I mean, Blackburn are still without, my understanding is they're still without Ben Brereton and Diaz. They scraped a draw with being outplayed by last week. I mean, Swansea, I heard, were very unlucky the other night. They had a lot of chances and then lost to a late goal. I won't be at all surprised if Swansea hold them. Well, I'm hoping they do anyway. So, Blackburn are not 5 behind us, but if if Swansea hold them, they could be 4 behind us, but we'll have games in hand. So, I think that they're punching above their weight, Blackburn. But I think Swansea having a very disappointing season to them. I think a draw for me.
Okie dokie. Now, Steve, pressure time as usual. I need your best bet and value bet.
Yeah, my best. I'm going to go for Luton Town. They're having a good run at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they, Cambridge obviously shot Newcastle, but I'd be very surprised if Luton, lose to them. And I think I'll go for my value bet. I'll go for Wigan. I just think that there aren't many, either Wigan or Forest, but I just fancy Leicester to be too strong. So I think I'll go for Wigan as my value bet at Stoke City.
All right, Steve.
Stevie, your little beauty.
Thanks very much. Enjoy watching. Have you got the Man City Fulham game on?
No, it's not on. It's not on because it's a 3 o'clock game, so they won't show a 3 o'clock game live, so we won't get to see it.
All right, Stevie.
But there's a lot of cup.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Stevie.
The first one is on Man United. So.
Yeah, Friday night, Man United, Middlesbrough.
Talk to you next week.
All right,
Okay.
Steve. All the best.
you.
Thanks again.
Cheers.
Bye.
Right, Budge. What are we moving on to?
Well, we're going to do the Premiership game, Paul. I think that's the biggest game of the weekend, Burnley versus
he calls
Watford.
it a draw because he thinks they're going to go in tight with Hodgson, Watford.
Well, Paul, the problem is Watford have got to score because they've got giants in that Burnley team. They signed the guy Weghorst. I watched him a couple of years ago for Wolfsburg when De Bruyne was playing for them. And 6'6", Paul. So one Langestein through another, and we can bring the betting up. But I saw 12-10 Burnley. I don't know if that's worth the bet.
No, me too.
But I think Burnley to score 1.5 goals. I saw 16-10. That was my play.
Okay.
So that's
Right,
for Burnley.
FA Cup should be interesting, but
Yeah.
it's something some teams can still go for. But some of them look clear-cut. Like, I think Man United up against Middlesbrough, Budge.
Yeah, it should be, Paul. With all the controversy that's gone on, Van der Beek's gone. Greenwood's under severe. He won't be available. Anthony Martial's gone. So you would think Man
Sancho, put
United.
your boots on.
Sancho's number
Put your
7.
boots
He's
on.
got to play. So
Okay,
we can bring the odds up shortly. Man
shortly we'll
United
get
1-3, Paul.
they'll be way too strong for Middlesbrough.
So there should be 1-3 United, Paul.
Okay.
Middlesbrough are going well, but it should be United all day.
Yeah. Everton, there we go. That's the
That's
the earlier one.
Now the guys will bring up the FA Cup now.
Yeah.
Paul, Everton's my best bet of the weekend. I know you were following Lawrence's pick last time, Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Everton deserved at least a point, Paul.
Yeah.
You can imagine with the time, everyone should be back.
Yeah.
So it should be for me, Everton.
Yes. So Everton. Okay, Budge, you're
Everton
going
12-10 for me. Good things, Paul.
Okay. Huddersfield had a good win during the week.
Paul,
they
they
played
beat-
Barnsley.
Yeah, they should be. Paul Barnsley, they were fighting last night. They got beat injury time. They had a goal disallowed as well, Barnsley. But 7-10 Huddersfield, Paul. It should be. I know they beat Derby last night. But
They're
Derby
in the
had a-
playoff places.
Yeah, Derby had a player sent off in the 3rd minute. So they only scored in the last 15 minutes.
Derby are stiff.
Yeah, it should be Huddersfield, Paul, 7-10.
Okay. The Posh versus
Paul, I watched them
QPR.
against Sheffield United. They just can't score goals.
Yeah.
QPR are 4th.
They're doing well.
Going well, Paul. So if they play a strong team, I know they've all got games in midweek. But both teams to score is my play there. But it wouldn't surprise me if QPR won, Paul.
Okay. Southampton too strong.
Paul, I think there'll be certainties to beat Coventry. They gave Man City a hard game.
Yeah.
They play the ball in behind. I like what they see.
They
James
drew.
Ward-Prowse, he's a top player. I'm surprised
Great free
Spurs
kicks.
haven't gone on for him. But he's with their type of player. 5-10, Paul. It's all 13-10 to win by more than one. So that's what I like there. But Southampton and all our bets.
Okay.
And we've gone through Everton, my best bet to beat
Okay.
Brentford.
All right. What's our next
The
screen?
second
Tell
page,
us.
Paul, we had got 10 fixtures. We handpicked the plums. Paul, I don't know about Stoke. They did beat Hull City, but they've been woeful ever since.
They're struggling.
Struggling, Paul, especially at home. They've drawn 1, lost 4 the last 5 league games. I agree with Steve. If ever there's an upset, this could be it. Wigan beat Blackburn in the last round. So anything's possible.
Stevie's roughy.
Yeah, I agree. It's 37-10, Paul. I saw it was 12-10 win and draw. So that would be my suggestion, Paul. Tight game.
So Wolverhampton have now lost Traore. They're 6-10 to
Certainties,
beat
Paul.
Norwich.
Yeah, they were this is 33-1 to win the cup. That was my play. Traore.
They play well.
Good team. Traore's a 20-minute super sub. That's all he is. He's never really started.
Doesn't score enough.
Portuguese contingent. I heard they've signed another young Portuguese striker. So, I think for another Porto Wolves. I think Wolves would be too good for Norwich. Norwich got a big game in midweek. So what's he going to do? play his best team, or
Yeah.
so a big game for Wolves as opposed to Norwich, Paul.
Okay,
I think-
Cambridge, Luton.
well, Cambridge knocked out Newcastle in
That's
the
right.
last round. They won
That's right.
1-0, at St James's, so they won't be easy. They got beaten midweek. I think Bolton beat them. Luton on a roll, Paul, but they got lucky during midweek. Saw the manager celebrating, running into the crowd behind the goals, so good luck to them. Paul, I think at 26-10, I think this is going to be a tight game. Cambridge are a long ball team.
Yeah.
Luton should win, obviously, on standing, but I think the draw's a big player there.
Spurs, if they score first, will be hard to beat here. But Brighton have impressed me.
Yeah. Paul, they've only lost one of their last 10 away games, and that was Stevie Gerrard's game at Villa Park when they lost 2-0 to Villa. Funny team, Paul.
Funny team, always dangerous.
Always dangerous.
Always
and the
dangerous.
exotics, you can either chance Spurs or
Yeah.
I think both teams. I like Spurs are the two teams. I think there's goals in this, Paul.
Yeah. Spurs aren't playing badly, just Chelsea's got their number, but the other games have been very
Well, they've
good.
only lost to Chelsea since
Yeah.
he's been there. One league defeat in 10.
Yeah.
That was to Chelsea.
Yeah, I think big game, but I'm always respectful.
Spurs at home, I think they'll win, Paul.
Yeah.
Tough game, though. And
Forest, Leicester too good.
I think so, Paul. I was on Norwich Notts Forest last week. They were woeful against Cardiff. They got outfought. They scored late. They got beat 2-1. If Leicester play their the best team, and I think they will, Paul. They are the cup holders. They're struggling to
They've
get
got
into
good
Europe.
players.
Good players, Paul. I was going to make them my best bet of the weekend. I just prefer Everton. But Leicester and all my bets, Paul. 11-10, good things.
All right, lovely. Now, let's go to the Nedbank Cup, last 32.
We've got Championship, Paul. There's 4 games.
Are they still around?
Well, the teams, they all got knocked out.
Right,
So,
Birmingham.
Paul, I like Sheffield United. I watched them last week. Really good team. They've got rid of all the guys that wanted away from their relegation from the Premiership. 12-10, Paul. I like Birmingham were 2-0 up against Derby, who were woeful. Derby equalised, scored 2 goals in the last 5 minutes. They play like that. Sheffield United will beat them easily. Blackpool, they deserved a point against
they
Fulham.
played well against Fulham.
I couldn't believe we had Fulham in every one of our bets, 4 of the 6 bets that were non-existent, but Blackpool deserved it. But Bristol City should have beat Preston.
Yeah.
Preston equalised at injury time, so both teams to score 8.5 to 10 is a certainty.
Hull City on a roll.
Yeah, on a roll. My boys Preston, we've actually only lost 1 of 7. If we'd won that, we'd have been on midweek. We'd been 5 points outside the playoff places. Hull have won 3 in a row since the new owner. I didn't like them last week, but they won, so they've got to make them favourites.
Have they changed manager? No.
Yeah, they fired their manager, Grant McCann. I couldn't believe it. They beat they beat Bournemouth and they beat Blackburn. 2nd and 3rd, then they fired their manager. But they're 3 in a row. They've got a new Turkish owner.
And
So
who's
we'll
the
see.
new manager?
Nobody, I haven't heard yet, Paul.
Yeah, okay.
Some interim. But my boys Preston, we'll go there. It's actually on ESPN, so at least I can watch it. So a draw in Hull City should be, Paul. I don't see Preston getting beat.
Okay.
And the last game, I like Blackburn. I know Swansea can't buy a goal. I watched them the other day. They play good football but can't score.
Yeah.
But I like Blackburn. Blackburn in a draw for me. Blackburn at 2-1 by each way value, Paul.
All right, let's now go on to Nedbank.
Yeah, Nedbank last 32, Paul. There's a lot of games in midweek.
Give me your thoughts.
University of Pretoria, not going too well. Chipper, always a good cup team, Paul. This is Friday, 3 o'clock. There's only 5 games over the weekend. So 12-10, Paul. I'm going to have a few rand on Chipper.
Okay, lovely.
Richards Bay, they play at Princess Magogo. They're top of the league. They've won their last 5 at home. But Sundowns, Paul, one of the best teams in Africa. I don't see them upsetting Sundowns. 1-3 in all your accumulators. But, maybe the delay, there's been a break for over a month. So you never know. But I don't see Sundowns going out.
Swallows?
Well, Swallows, Dylan Kerr's only lost 1 game since he's been there.
He's done well.
Done well for them. TS Sporting, Paul, they're struggling. 8-10, it should be Swallows, but we know these games after a break. Now, Golden Arrows should be TTM. TTM is a team that I think they bought Wits a couple of years ago, but they got relegated. Trouble in the camp. Only thing is they play in Toyondo, which is up north, but it should be Golden Arrows, Paul, 8-10. They're unbeaten in 8. And the last game, Amazulu have only lost 1 of the last 12 league games. They've drawn, I think, 8 of them, but the defeat was at Orlando Pirates.
Is this a one-off?
This is a one-off, the extra time and penalties. But I'm hoping for Amazulu, Paul.
Yeah,
the
me
Pirates
too.
at Orlando Stadium don't get beat.
Heba Usutu.
Usutu. The draw's a player, Paul. But
Okay.
I don't see Pirates getting beat.
All right, Budge, let's go and look at the picks.
Yeah, Saturday soccer exotics. Had to be a bit creative. I'm chancing Everton to beat Brentford. I think Southampton will be too good for Coventry. I've gone the field in the Stoke City Wigan game. I think Wolves will be too good for Norwich. And I've gone the field in the Burnley Watford. Tottenham, Brighton, looking for upsets, Paul,
Okay,
162.
please take that off your sheet. Okay, the next one.
Yeah, on to the Pumalela Soccer 6. I'm going the field in the Milan derby, Inter against AC. I'm bankering Celta de Vigo to beat Rayo Vallecano. I don't see Burnley losing at home to Watford. And Fiorentina got a great home record in the Serie A. I don't see them losing at home to Lazio. I'm going the field in the Monaco Olympic Lyonnais game, and I'm bankering Tottenham to beat Brighton.
No, you're warming up, bud. You're warming to me.
216. Had to find another banker, Paul, so Tottenham it is.
How about the 10?
Gold Circle Soccer 10 year. I'm banking West Ham to beat Kidderminster, Crystal Palace to beat Hartlepool. I'm going the field in the Huddersfield Barnsley game, looking for an upset. Likewise, the Peterborough Queen's Park Rangers game. I'm bankering Southampton to beat Coventry City. On to the second page, I'm bankering Everton to beat Brentford. The field in the Stoke Wigan Athletic game. Man City should be too good for Fulham, and I think Wolves will be too good for Norwich City. And looking for an upset, Paul, in the last game. Tottenham Brighton 288.
Right, Budge, your best bets.
Yeah, best bets, Paul. I'm going Chelsea to win both halves against Plymouth Argyle. I'm going Everton to beat Brentford, Southampton to beat Coventry, and Leicester to beat Notts Forest. 10-1, 2,200 was our play.
Lovely.
Our championship bet, there's only 4 games, Paul, so I'm going Sheffield United to beat Birmingham City, and both teams to score in the Blackpool Bristol City, Hull City Preston, Swansea City and Blackburn Rovers, 2,500 to 200. Our team goals only, I'm going Everton, Southampton, Tottenham and Leicester, all to score over 1.5 goals, 2,500 to 200.
Okay.
Now, our last one, Paul, I had to be creative again. It's over 2.5 goals and both teams to score.
Okay.
I'm going Kidderminster, West Ham, and Liverpool, Cardiff City. It's over 2.5 goals and both teams to score no. So that means one team's got to win 3-0, 4-0, and I think West Ham...
So is that apply to Kidderminster, West Ham?
Yeah,
as well?
so we need West Ham to win...
If Kidderminster scored, it's dead.
Well, unless they win 3-0, which won't happen. And likewise with Liverpool. I think Liverpool will destroy Cardiff City.
You got me here, but
Okay.
so if it's Kidderminster 3-0...
If it's 3-0, the bet's for it's the winning bet.
One team has to score nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm looking for value, Paul. Liverpool was, I think, 22-10 that bet.
Yes.
Liverpool to win 3-0 at home against Cardiff. I don't see Cardiff scoring. So that's why we took the double. Paul, 11-1.
It looks like West Ham could beat Kidderminster.
Well, they
by 3
should.
and
Well,
Liverpool
Kidderminster,
should.
amateur teams.
Yeah.
If West Ham can't put 3 past them, I'll be disappointed. So
Okay.
2,200 was our play. In Spain, the league resumes this weekend. I'm going Celta Vigo and Getafe to win. And both teams to score. Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, which is the big game of the weekend, and Valencia, Real Sociedad, 2,500 to 200. And our Carlos King 6 or Nixa. I'm going Chelsea to beat Plymouth, Everton to beat Brentford, Southampton to beat Coventry, Wolves to beat Norwich, Liverpool to beat Cardiff City, and Leicester City to beat Notts Forest, 2,700 to 200.
Excellent, Budge. Right, so that ties it up. Don't forget the last one standing. There's 2 in the girls, 2 in the men in the main tournament, and they're played during the week.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they've got their selections. The new one starts on the 12th. It'll probably be the last one for the season where we are in the league. But until then, stay on side.